We're going to officially start this meeting. I don't believe we're waiting on anybody else.
Nope.
So we'll call the meeting to order and we'll open the floor for public comment.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but as a representative of the Friends of the Library, I just want you all to be aware.
Name.
I'm Debbie Konechny, Chair of the Friends of the Library.
Thank you.
And we have initiated a scholarship for Ripon High School, and so this is the first year, and it's just come out on Facebook and through the foundation. So $1,000 scholarship for high school senior for 2 or 4 year going into some type of literacy-based program.
That's cool.
I think it's good PR for the Friends and for the library.
Well done. All right, any other comments? Okay. We're going to move on to the next agenda item of approving the minutes of the January 3rd, 2024 meeting. Any thoughts or questions on those?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the December, what was the date again? I'm sorry.
It's the
3rd.
January 3rd.
The January 3rd meeting.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand.
Aye.
I assume that's Mary there.
Yep. Any opposed?
Hi, Mary.
Any abstained?
Aye.
All right. We're going to continue on to receive the report from the library director.
So just a couple of other additions. We did get a $350 bill for our fire inspection that just arrived today. So Doug is gonna follow up with that. I'm not sure, we haven't had an inspection this year, so I'm not sure if it's from last year. We've never been billed before. The fire district had always not charged the city department, so this is something new that wasn't budgeted for. So Doug will follow up on that. And then I just wanted to mention that Ben from MSA has been working on the grant, and we did, so it's basically almost complete. There were a couple of last minute edits that needed to be done. We did get letters of support from Knuth, from Webster's, from Kat and Gary as the Fond du Lac County supervisors, from the Sensenbrenners. The mayor wrote a letter. So otherwise Adam's gonna submit it tomorrow afternoon once the last edits have been made, so.
Do we have
Great.
Do we have a timeline on when decisions are made on that? Do we know, like?
No.
Okay.
Adam said you'll find out if you get it, and if you don't,
We don't
usually
get
hear
it.
it.
Okay. Got it.
So,
Okay. How much money did we end up asking for?
we asked for $895,000.
Okay.
And that we have matching funds for that, so.
Awesome.
Any other questions or comments on the director report? Okay, we're going to continue on to review payments of the January 2024 invoices.
Let's see. The big one to Winter Fox, is that just something we pay once a year?
Yes, that's our once a year contribution for them,
Oh, okay.
for the automated system and the share of the computer network and support for our circulation system.
I don't have it in front of me. Was that about 6,900? What was the amount?
39,000.
39,000.
39. Yeah, I was wondering about the
Yeah.
amount.
I feel like I've asked this before, but unique management, what's that?
That's our collection agency.
That's right, okay. I think I asked every third meeting.
So that amount to Winfox, what services are we gaining as a result?
That's our whole circulation system.
Okay.
So the Cersei Dynix system that we're using, and then all of the support staff that goes behind that.
Okay.
So if you want to get a book and look for it, and it's up in Menasha, it's up there and it's checked. And you can request it and it be delivered here. That's all part of that.
And I've used it. It's very helpful.
And
Desiree, is that on our budget, is that in professional services? Or
Yes.
is that in the,
Yep, that's in professional services. That's the big
Okay.
chunk that comes out.
okay, because for the year that just ended, we show that we were over plan there in that line item by like 13,000. Do you know what comprises the overage?
I
variance.
think we paid ahead a little bit last year, so. That also
We paid
includes, and that also includes landscaping, and it includes unique management as in professional services, so.
How much is Unique collecting for us?
They get a now 94% return rate of what we.
So how much in dollars have they recovered for us?
Oh, I'd have to look because we've been using them for years. But I
Okay,
can
I was
look
wondering
at
if you could provide that next time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just seen it someplace. It was quite a bit of money, I think, because they even said something.
Is that for people that haven't paid their fines?
The collection agency, the rule is they have to have at least one item checked out that hasn't been returned and owe more than $25. So if they check out a
Okay.
paperback and haven't returned it, they're still okay. But if they check out, a large print book, that would put them over the limit, so. And then we do cost recovery on that too, so the collection agency charges us a fee for that, but we charge back to the patrons and add it to their account, so.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions or comments on the invoices from January 2024? All right. We're going to move on to discuss the draft of the peanut-free policy.
So as I explained, we do have a staff member that's severely allergic to peanuts, and there were a couple of incidents in the last month. And so I kind of put it out there to Winnifox if they had any experience with peanut-free policies, and they didn't, and they put it out to other library system directors, and one responded that if they had this issue, they would recommend having a policy of no peanuts in the building. There was a group here that used peanuts as part of a craft on the night the employee was working. It did get into the air handling unit system. It did impact her. She started wearing a mask to help, but she could definitely feel it in her throat that she was starting to have a reaction. So this is just precautionary. So I feel it's in the best interest to just not allow peanuts in the building and for library staff to not serve them either.
So then when we have external groups using our meeting rooms, they get a copy of this, or they're shown this, or they're made aware?
So we would add this, if this was approved, we would add this language to the meeting room policy that the groups would get.
Okay.
Is it public information who this person is that's especially sensitive to peanuts?
I don't think that's
But
relevant.
that's just like it, no.
It's not wrong.
Pardon me?
Should the policy be, have a reason for because there are people with allergies? I know it's
I
so
could
well
not,
known,
I could
right?
not find any, like I wrote this, I could not find anybody to copy from for a policy like this. So if you want to add something, that's fine, so.
I see where you,
Yeah,
Like due
it's-
to possible allergy?
reactions.
Yeah.
it's not because of prejudice against planters or any,
And I didn't want to single the staff person out either or feel so.
Yeah, it shouldn't be
No.
for one person, it's generally, right? I get it.
There may be others.
Right.
It's quite a wide, broad ranging policy. Is this the first time we've discussed it? You must have discussed it last week.
No,
No, this is the first time it's come to the board.
It seems severe to me.
Due to severity of peanut allergy reactions, blah, blah, blah.
Next to be catering, I'll have to take this.
No one's here.
I mean, so I did a little bit of looking into allergens. There are 9 common allergens now that are identified. Peanuts are one. This does not include tree nuts, so anything with almonds or things like that are still allowed. So because we are looking into we get, especially at Christmas time, a lot of people drop off baked goods, especially when they have leftovers. So just having an intake form and having those allergens identified on there also. So because we do have a couple of staff that have other allergies, but that aren't as common or as severe. So we are just thinking about allergies in general right now, so.
Do we need Do we feel comfortable voting on it, or do we need to see an updated draft?
I'm fine with it, just adding an allergic reaction piece you had mentioned.
Breck, you seem like you have some, do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, you know, I try to take a sense of humor and understanding. I had a 5-year-old that was allergic to peanuts when she was young, and I thought, you know, if I give her a few peanuts, maybe she'll outgrow it. Within a few weeks, she was able to eat peanuts. I've been to some friend's house where if a peanut just got into the ventilation, it was quite an issue. I think it's too broad to force on the entire library system, so I would vote no.
So then do you think, how would we manage the staff member though who has the allergy?
Could we accommodate them individually through staff being aware?
But the time that she had is more of a reaction was an outside group bringing in peanuts to use as part of a craft.
Here's an idea. If we have a policy, no peanuts, somebody brings in peanuts, they make a mistake, and let's say this woman is hospitalized, is somebody liable because we have this policy?
That I don't know.
Can you say that again?
If we have this broad policy with peanuts, and I am comforted by the fact that it doesn't include all nuts, but let's say there's a policy, no peanuts, and then someone from the outside, for some library activity, has an activity where peanuts are involved, and this person is hospitalized, and they bring a complaint, is the library liable because we have this policy on the books? Would it be better just to accommodate her individually? Be interested to hear anybody else's opinion.
I guess that brings up a question of, and I don't remember the meeting policy, does it have anything about liability in there?
No.
Okay. The meeting
So,
policy.
most places that I know of that have a peanut-free zone have a sign with a peanut, a circle around it and a line through it, no peanuts. They don't explain. Classrooms at some of the schools I sub in have that. Some, and some other public buildings have that in because there's someone there regularly is there as an allergic to peanuts. I'm very comfortable just, okay, we can tweak it later, which I'm fine with doing too, so we can enact this now, I'm good with it. Just put it in and say, look, no peanuts, not at all.
I'd like to ask a question. Is this considered, could this be considered an accommodation for an employee? And should that be reviewed by legal, HR, the city's attorney? Because you're making an accommodation for this employee with the policy and addressing their issue. And I think that's...
It seems like a workplace issue.
Yes.
That's where it falls, I think. And yeah, we should stop all peanuts. I'm totally in agreement with that. It's just, how do we go about it the right way so that, because we're accommodating a worker who has an issue.
Because you accommodate one person and now you open yourself, not saying you wouldn't accommodate other situations with other employees, but now you open that door, if you will, when you do that.
Okay.
I would just say get it reviewed
Okay.
by the city's attorney or their HR, or whoever handles HR related issues for the city.
I think we can have this as an agenda item for the next meeting, and we'll just pause conversation until we are able to talk with the appropriate people at the city. Sounds good? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move to the next item, review and update committee assignments of library board members. So I saw the assignments, current assignments in the director's report.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of talked a little last time, didn't we?
Right, but we had 2 members, we still have 1 member missing.
That's right.
We wanted to wait until we have more
Is that
people
Travis?
present. Travis isn't here at this meeting, so. And we did talk about whether there was a need for a finance and a budget committee. And I did ask Claire-Ellen at Winter Fox, and she said it's atypical to have 2 committees that both handle the finance part, so.
So she was in favor of combining?
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, well, what are our feelings? Is now the time to discuss combining is the question, or should we make that a separate agenda item for next meeting?
Well, it says.
I'd like to
update-
get the
update
decision
committee
made.
Assignments.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Combining which two?
The budget and finance committees. I think.
Gary, that was I made that as a recommendation at the last meeting, that budget and finance should be under one umbrella.
Yeah,
That's typically how most
I'm fine with
groups
that.
run. Yeah.
And, I mean, I'd like to trade places with you also because of your background in finance. I think you'd be a good spot on there instead of myself.
Yeah, I'd like to be on that committee.
Yeah, so we could swap me out of there and swap me, get you in on there. I'd feel much more comfortable. Hopefully everybody else does too.
Anybody have any feelings about the fundraising side of it? Anybody feel specifically pulled to the fundraising committee? Gary?
Huh. I broke my time stretcher last week. Do we have somebody that's maybe not on a committee, do we? We have a couple.
I was on the handbook.
The handbook.
Which we're not done yet.
No, we're not done yet.
Thank you.
Okay, so in terms of removing Gary and bringing Mary on to the finance committee, that's something I appoint? And do I need to do it at the meeting, this meeting?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Can I ask a question though before you do that? Are we going to have a budget committee and a finance committee, or are we going to have one committee doing the budget and finance work?
One.
I think
One doing both.
does anybody have any feelings against combining them? Okay,
What's it called?
Well, the finance committee.
Finance
Finance
committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not gonna miss it, Gary?
No.
You're not gonna.
So who would be the members of the finance committee besides me?
so that'd be Janet, myself, and you.
Doug.
What
And
Oh,
about-
Doug.
sorry, and Doug, I
Yeah.
apologize, and Doug.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I will appoint Mary onto the newly formed combined finance committee. Gary will be removed. And we still don't know anything about fundraising.
Is personnel let's just go through, is personnel staying the same?
Does anybody have any feelings against being on the personnel committee?
Who's on that?
Right now, it's Andy, Janet, Gary.
Oh.
Okay,
Janet's okay?
I am, but, I think I'd like to be removed from social.
Yes.
She's kind of covered up with all these committees. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
such a poor, so.
So social, Breck, how do you feel about being the board member on social and coordinating with 1 to 2 staff members about like a meet and greet or a pizza night or something once a year?
Remind me who the other two.
It would be staff members, so we were thinking Libby, no,
Leah.
Leah, and
I'm not sure who else, maybe
Okay.
Robin or Susie.
Yeah, I've dealt with Rob and she's real pleasant. Yeah, that's something I'd be comfortable with.
okay, great. Okay, so Janet,
Well, as
go
far as
ahead.
level of commitment, we talking in terms of hours per week, just a guess?
It's not even hours per week, I think it's
It's
probably
one,
coordinating
coordinate one event.
coordinating one event.
Yeah.
For
One or
a
two
year.
events a year?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what's a couple events that the social committee did recently? Or
It's been a while, so it was just canceled.
Yeah,
what was that?
Well, that was a staff potluck, that wasn't a board thing.
That was
The
a
last
board.
one was the board just had that pizza night.
That was
You came to
quite-
that.
I was here.
Quite a
Yeah,
while
yeah,
ago.
that's the last one we did.
Last winter, I think.
Yeah. The other thing they've done in the past is just to have a little social event before the board meeting and push the board meeting back a half hour, an
And then
hour.
we
So-
meet staff members and pages.
Oh, I'd love to
Okay.
help with that.
Oh, great. Okay, so Janet is off social committee, Breck is on, thank you.
Handbook should stay the same
Yep.
because they've been
We
working
haven't
on that.
completed
yeah.
it, yep, yep.
Mhm.
And then we've got the
So
strategic.
do you think the fundraising, if we would get that grant, it would kind of become moot? Do we just wait on that?
We could, yes,
Yeah.
I agree. If we get the grant, then fundraising would be paused for a little bit.
Okay,
So,
Good idea.
and then strategic planning.
So,
Okay. Okay, great.
Andy's the best.
right.
All right. Excellent. We have to vote, right? To close it or I forget?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we are going to convene to close session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.851C to receive an update on the library director's 2023 annual review goals. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any
Well, I need to put,
We need a motion in a second.
yeah, I need to
Oh,
put,
okay.
Janet and
Apologize.
Mary need to go into the waiting room now, so,
So you guys will bring us back?
yes.
Yeah, how do you know, how does that work? How will we know?
I would take you out of the waiting room, is how it should work. So,
How will I, on my screen, what will I see?
you'll see us back.
Us.
So they'll go away and then they'll come back and then, we're back in?
Right. Mhm.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
sorry. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Take any necessary action on discussion of the library director's 2023 goals. Is there any necessary action?
it's,
I don't think so. No. Discussion went great. All right. Next agenda item, discuss library director's priorities and set goals for 2024. So we talked a little and then we were realizing that we needed to bring you both in, but we talked about the desk shift and is that a smart use of time for Desiree and how we kind of see both sides because her being on desk allows her to connect with patrons and really have face time and develop those community relationships. But being on desk also prevents her from doing some of the more behind the scenes stuff, making phone calls, et cetera, with people that might not need to be, heard at the desk. So I don't know if either of you have thoughts or feelings on that.
What does Desiree think?
Well, it's nice to be on desk and to see people sometimes, but it probably, especially with so many things going on right now, if it was just typical time and we didn't have the building project going on, then I think it would be fine. If I could give up some of those desk shifts, that would probably be helpful.
Is it a staffing issue?
Somewhat, yes. Especially like I've mentioned in a couple of the board packets that we've had a lot of illnesses in November and December were the months. January was quite as bad. And then it's vacation time. So vacations coming up are a little easier to plan for because Winnifox does have a substitute librarian program. And so we can, if we can't find somebody in-house right now, we could ask for a sub. One of the new library pages that I hired does have more daytime availability. So I could check with her about filling at least like for the spring break week in March where I have 2 staff members that have all 9 shifts between the 2 of them. I was going to ask if she's available to fill in a little bit. So
What's the
How much time are you spending at the desk?
no, that was about per month. It's about between 2 and 4 shifts per month. It depends on vacations and
How many hours is that,
And
Desiree?
it's about 4 hours a shift.
So 12 hours.
So you're doing 2 to 4 times 4, so up to 16 hours possibly a month?
Right.
So about half a day a week or so.
Right.
What is the lead time like on getting one of the Winnifox subs? Is it like you call that day for the following day, or is it like
The ones that we've had typically need more lead time because they're retired,
Okay.
so.
So having somebody call out because of illness, it's not realistic
gonna
to have,
happen,
okay,
no.
okay.
Yeah.
So when I used the library more regularly prior to 2020, I don't recall seeing you at the desk. Do we have what I consider a positive change that you're at the desk now, more than you were in 2020, before 2020?
No,
Or is that just my perception?
I think that's your perception.
So
It would have
you were-
been up until Robin and Andrew were hired, I would have been, and they were hired in January 2019, because we'd had staff hours cut. I was definitely on desk more, like I had a regular shift every single week, plus an additional shift on some Fridays.
How about before 2017?
I don't remember back then.
Were you at the desk 3 shifts of?
No, never that
That's kind of
often,
far back.
so, yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I don't know that any final plan needs to, or final decision needs to be made today about the desk shift unless somebody really feels differently, but I think as much as you can, maybe alleviating some of the duties at the desk since we have so many bigger, larger scale projects that really need your attention and focus.
I would agree with that.
I mean, I don't want to rob you of that ability to interact with patrons though, because I understand I loved being at the desk because it's just that face time you don't get normally. So, however,
Right.
you want to find a balance there.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to move to the next item, discuss strategic planning activation worksheet, which was linked in the director's report as well.
Wait, so I'm gonna try and share this screen.
Good.
Okay. So it's up on the screen now.
Okay. Wow.
Can you see it okay?
Yeah.
Or you can use the link, like you at home can use the link on your device if that's
I
easier.
can see, I can see it well, yeah, it's good.
It on my iPad, so I'm cool, yeah. And I spent those few minutes while you were gone reading it, so.
Oh. So just to recap, Linda, Susie, Ben, and I had met, I think it was at the end of November of last year, and kind of talked about the things that had come out through the strategic planning process and what we thought, you know, so understanding that it's supposed to be a 3-year process and some things will get done in year 1, some things in year 2, some things in year 3. You know, what is feasible, knowing what the workload already is that we have going on, what can we get done first, you know, what are the easier things to do. So this is kind of what I came up with that you see here. So I don't know if you want to go through everyone. So I didn't map out, so I mapped out 2024. I didn't put anything in 25 and 26 yet because it would be too complicated to change it around. Like once we get 24 down, then we can map out the next year after that. So.
One question, when it says staff, is that you also, because it says director, it just says staff.
I think that those are just the options.
Okay, so that would include you.
Right.
Is there a priority order for these items?
No.
Or are they all of equal priority?
No, we haven't, the board hasn't discussed that yet.
Is that what we're asked to do tonight, or?
Right, and is
Or
this in
in-
line with, are these goals acceptable? Is it too much? Is it not enough? Is there one goal that's a lower priority for this year that should be pushed off? There was something else that should be done in its place this year.
It's a lot of questions, so we should have done the questions
Yeah, right.
beforehand.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, for the sake of time and because this is a detailed document, I don't just want to breeze over it, I really want to give it its justice. Maybe we roll it over and make it an agenda item for next month, and that will give us time for Desiree to send those questions and for us to really take a minute, or more than a minute, but you know what I mean? to
Rank the priorities in each category, or?
read it, rank it, review it.
Yep.
um,
Yeah, I guess what's the board's role? I mean, what action do you want us to take so that we could be in a position, either make recommendations, or what does that look like? I mean, Andy, you were pretty intimately involved too. I mean, from your point of view at our level, what should that look like?
Yeah, I think we should make sure that the activities align with the objectives. Are there other activities we should consider, that we should suggest from our collective brain power? Does this help us get to the final goals? That's sort of what I'm hoping to see. So I'm hoping to see the 25 and 26 like before this is over. Like I like us to be strategic and think about what can we accomplish over the next couple of years. Like not over the next month, but at least within the next 4 or 5 months, we should have 25 and 26 done, I think. So we can set the big goals and make it happen.
Yeah.
Because some things can't be done in 1 year.
Right. If we're looking not far enough ahead, we're not going to get very far.
I'm wondering if maybe we can set aside a nice chunk of time for next month's meeting, of course, pending on other agenda items, to really maybe break this down and go through it a little bit in more detail.
No, I think that would be a very good idea. We've been working on this a lot tonight, and so looking at it and just briefly discussing that, and then next month, I think that's something that we really need to dig into. And if it's not done next month, then definitely we'll roll it over into March.
Until we feel comfortable
And then
with it.
in March, we should be probably done with it then.
Okay.
There's a lot to talk about through here.
Okay, so I guess our quote-unquote homework is between the end of tonight and when we meet next at the end of February. Let's really take our time to go through it and familiarize ourselves with it, and also each board member maybe set what they think is the priority list, I guess.
Should we expect something emailed to us?
And then maybe Desiree can send the questions that you kind of just fired off. Okay.
So it's a document that's editable, right? So we don't want to move, we don't want to touch this one, right?
It's view only.
It's what?
It's
View
being
only.
blocked.
It's locked.
Oh, okay, good. I can't destroy it then, thank you.
I have a couple questions about the strategic plan. Could you guys send that back out again?
Yes, I will do that when I send the questions, yep.
Okay, and then my second question is, in the plan, was there a summary or executive summary that said, here's the findings and here are like the key areas to focus in on? Was that part of the outcome of the strategic plan in the document itself?
I think so, but it's been a couple months since I've looked at it. So I don't know what the executive summary said exactly.
I mean,
Okay.
these were the overall goals. It was the 5 goals, 4 or 5 goals.
Are those listed on this document, the 4 or 5 goals?
Right, so the
Yeah.
positioning for our future, the optimizing our spaces.
Embedding in the community, I think is the next one.
Positioning, optimizing, embedding,
And then sharing our story.
sharing. So those are really global.
Right.
I mean, they're very broad.
Right, and then we kind of whittled down the activities based off of what specifically is happening here at Ripon, and what are we doing, and who are the staff folks that we've identified to take the lead, and do we need volunteers? And really, that's what Linda and Susie and Ben and you, right, before you, really kind of took time to decide. Okay. We will look at this again next month. We're going to move on to discuss next steps for the renovation project.
Which I think we've already talked about are kind of on pause until we find out about the
Yes, grant. Okay, great. Next item, discuss library facility walkthrough memo, which that is an attachment.
What are you wanting to hear specifically? They found lots of things that are troubling with the library, which was good, that they took a look and.
The board just hadn't had a chance to discuss that. It was sent, I got it the day of the last board meeting, so it's just, if there were any other comments, I just wanted to give people a chance for input.
I know we talked about establishing an MOU, and I think maybe we use this to inform the MOU a little and really look at what hasn't been kept up, what needs to be kept up, and then memorandum of understanding between the city and the library, since they own this physical plant and we operate within it. So figuring out where the responsibility lies with the city in terms of maintenance and where it lies with us, and making it super clear in the MOU so there's really no confusion or error in any way in terms of whose responsibility is what.
So several other things called out in the memo were included in the grant application. So I know they included funding for the energy efficiency. So for the windows, for the doors downstairs on the lower level that we've been talking about replacing, for the handicap ramp and that large step to do something with that. The restrooms are already part of the interior project. They did include, I think, one boiler to replace that fourth boiler. They included the HVAC systems in the grant.
Okay.
So, and that electrical service switchgear is included in the grant request also. So it was good that they did this memo because several of these things are included in that grant request, so.
Okay,
What's the status of the MOU, or how is that going to get negotiated?
I'm not sure. I don't know if that's something is that something Adam, okay, go ahead, Doug.
okay, so I think it's something that, first of all, we need to decide what we're doing, because there are so many things on this memo. And that brings me to something else. A lot of these things, I've been on the board for a long time, I didn't know the state of the air conditioning unit. So like, if we're supposed to do it, why didn't we know? So I'm really honestly advocating that we ask the city to take control of all this stuff, tell us what needs to be fixed, and work it out in the budget. Like with those air conditioning units, that's $80,000 right there.
What, define work it out in the budget. How does that look to you?
I don't know, but that's why we need to discuss it.
I wasn't sure what that meant for you.
I think if we could get control of this better and work with the city more hand in hand with our finances, and not this, it's been in the past.
To the pants.
So we're
Seat of the pants.
So we need to move forward, and like, it's my understanding one of those AC units doesn't even really work anymore. Is that correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
The AC units.
Well, I thought that, Doug, it was the issue with the fact that there's no heat in the bathrooms.
That's another issue. That it may not be a big deal during the summer and the spring, but it is in the wintertime. It's cold. And
Can we get that fixed?
Is that in the budget? Do we have?
I don't know.
Do we have any
I don't
idea
know.
what that cost, Desiree?
No, I mean, the parts that are broken can't be replaced.
Right. Can we replace it with something else?
Well, it's part of the renovation project, so do we want to spend money on it now when it would be done with the renovation project?
Okay. What about all the electrical panels that are ancient? I mean, right here, the electric service switchgear is really old.
Right.
Do we have an idea what that's going to cost to replace?
No, but that was included in the grant application,
Okay.
so that one is.
What? Do we have an idea how much that grant we're asking to fix that?
No, MSA did all of that work and came up with the numbers.
Okay, so
Do we have the details on that? On the request specifically that was made in the grant?
He had sent an early draft. I don't think he needed to include the breakdown in the grant itself.
Okay,
I can go back and look.
but I guess what I'm saying is, if we don't get that grant, if we don't even get
Correct.
part of that grant, that still needs to be replaced
You're right.
like this year?
Well, I
Because-
think maybe we work with the city on like what's priority level right now, like by summer. What's priority level by the end of the year? What's priority level by the end of 2025? And we figure it out, like you said, with the
I
budget.
can't imagine that it would take a hit on our budget, because this stuff was not on the city's radar until this walkthrough. was on my radar. And I didn't even consider it.
Radar is a council meeting.
Well, if you have anybody, I don't think anybody knew about some of the state here. And
Could I suggest something that Budget and Finance could do, or the Finance Committee, Doug?
that would be fine, but we need to be sooner than later.
That we would have to, if the genesis of this is, we have the details now, at least this stuff has been brought to the surface, then it's a matter of sitting down with the city to negotiate who's responsible for which aspects of that big list, and then figuring out how that fits in with the strategic plan financially for the next 1 to 3 years. Even if stuff can, if there's something that has to be done in 2024, then that would mean a substantial shift in the operating budget that's already been approved. Right?
I'm just gonna chime in for 2 seconds here. I really hate to see people spinning their wheels and spending time negotiating, because we just need to, Desiree needs to probably talk to somebody at the city. Everybody's been there and gone. When this building was built and the library was built and it was established, I'm sure there's some guidelines and parameters. The building was built what year? The building is gonna be maintained by who? It probably says that.
I bet there is nothing.
There's gotta be
There
something.
isn't anything.
I bet there is
I
nothing.
don't think there is,
You
Gary.
don't think so?
Why wouldn't, if
No.
there was something, why wouldn't it have been
Maybe there's something.
done?
Well, people come, people go,
Yeah,
and somebody pays attention.
you could
somebody
ask,
doesn't
But
pay
that would be
attention.
helpful if we could find it.
Yeah.
There is nothing, I'm pretty sure.
The Department of Public
No.
Instruction does have sample facility MLU library things. That's,
Yeah.
it's
Where one's
boilerplate.
owned by one entity and one's run by another.
Who does what, right? So we could,
Right.
That's just a starting point.
it's a starting point, figure it
Yeah,
out from
for
there.
sure.
Okay,
Go ahead.
but I have we're talking about this walkthrough, but I think this impacts the renovation project too. Because
Yeah.
here, we have air conditioned units, $80,000 to replace both of them. We have other unmet needs, including those bathrooms and other things in this library that we need to address. And so we're fundraising for essentially to refresh the library, but there are physical needs of this building that need to be replaced. And so I'm going to tell you straight up, I think we should stop the renovation project. Cold, just stop. And we need to address what we got here before we move forward. I mean, some of the things that were pointed out to me in this walkthrough, like meeting rooms upstairs, what about electrical stuff and all those other things? That's not really included in that. What about refreshing the downstairs here? And the workspaces, and some of the other meeting rooms. And so we're not really doing this right. The city, when they're doing the DPW building, that's gonna cost a lot of money. They're having bi-weekly meetings with all the stakeholders to make sure that everything is on task and everything is being met within the parameters. I didn't see this with this renovation project. It was done and we're just doing it, and I didn't see that we had regular meetings, and we're not really going. I just feel like spinning our wheels on this. And I think we should pause it and go back.
There was
and
a campaign planning committee.
Yep, I got that. You know what?
Okay.
We need to stop, because all these other stuff was not brought forward at the time. We're doing it backwards.
I did notice a lot more physical structural stuff needs to be done than I realized.
Okay, so are you making the suggestion, I want to hear your thoughts, Mary. Are you making the suggestion that we full stop any fundraising for renovation and take the money that we fundraised to fix all this?
I'm not suggesting anything right now, but I think we should stop the renovation project and work with the city and we have money that we can begin addressing this appropriately, but we need to have the right guidance. This board doesn't have it.
I think the issue is, I agree with Doug that I don't think anybody would disagree that there's a desire to do the renovation. I think that's on one side of the table. What Doug is bringing up is that now that we know about this memo and all these items, our responsibility, our fiduciary responsibility to the people that have given us money and the people who may be giving us money is to assure that we have an operating plant that's gonna run.
That's
And
not
that we're not gonna be
insane.
running to the city going, oh my God, we need 80,000, oh my God, and while we're making everything look nice, but underlying, you know, we've got this really good looking car, but it needs a new transmission. You know, it's, I agree with Doug, it's kind of backwards. We can't unknow what's on this memo now.
I want to hear from Andy and then we'll hear from Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I disagree that we should stop the renovation project. I think we should continue the renovation project, but add on these parts partially. It's also the city's responsibility to upkeep the building. And so they have
Whoa, go ahead. Go ahead.
They haven't done
That's the
all
bone of
this.
contention, I think.
Go ahead, Andy, I'm sorry, I apologize for butting in.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened completely. We've discovered that. I'm not interested in blame, but we know that these things are wrong. We've also sold this project to all of our donors, and we can't go back and take that pot of money and put it into a boiler or into an air conditioner. That's not okay.
It's not being good stewards.
No, it's not okay.
Right.
It's not okay to do that. I agree with that, but you also have to say,
so I don't see
how
the
do you
time.
ignore?
So we have to continue fundraising for the renovation and then also work with the city with this grant to get the money for the physical structure. I'm done.
Okay, I'm going to read you something. Wisconsin statute 43.58, powers and duties. The library board shall have exclusive control of all expenditure of all monies collected, donated, or appropriated for the library fund, and of the purchase of a site and the erection of the library building whenever authorized. The library board shall have the exclusive charge, control, and custody of all lands, buildings, money, or other property devised, bequeathed, given, or granted, or otherwise acquired or leased by the municipality for library purposes. Okay? There's more, but what does that say? Buildings. That's our responsibility, and we have screwed up.
Okay, so then
To be honest, we screwed up.
we shouldn't feel like we have to go to common council then to get anything approved if it's under our control. correct?
Oh, but yes, because who's giving you that pot of money every year for operations?
So that, I don't know, there's like a have your cake and eat it too sort of situation here, Doug. It seems,
I'm very disappointed, because first of all, I've asked this body many times to go to the council, to get their blessing, to discuss it with the council, and it's never been done. And I keep feeling like it's our building, we should be able to do what we want, but it says, but the city of Ripon has ownership of the building, it's on the deed. It's
right,
on there.
so then we need to be working together, correct?
That's what I keep saying, because when you've come to the library, or we've come to the city before, who did that boiler project, 4 or 5 years ago? The city did. It took a couple years, but it was done. Here, we have this whole litany of lists that the city doesn't know about, and you think they're going to fix it in 1 year? That's a lot of money. And so this board, we abrogated it. So we were supposed to do it, and we didn't. So now we got to fix that problem and move forward. And so here we have, at least, I'd say $120,000 to $150,000 worth of work, just on the AC units, electrical panel, replacing some of the windows. I've not even gotten to the bathrooms and the heaters in there and fixing all that. That's $150,000 before we even move a bookshelf. And so,
Can I?
yeah, I see before to Janet.
I don't mean to interrupt. I couldn't find the raising hand button, sorry, because I know there's one on here, but I can't find it. I'm with Andy, I do not think we stop the renovation. And I'm also with Andy that you can't use the money we raised for things that they weren't advertised as. I think that we could incorporate these needs into the renovation. I think that we can talk to the city. I haven't heard, I felt like they were going to work with us on some of these expenses. I didn't feel like this was going to be 100% library money, that we had to come up out of a budget. So I'm not as sad about this as Doug is. I think there's a way to move forward cooperating with them, but I do not think if you think we should have done, then you need to make a motion that we halt the renovation and we can vote on it, but.
Sure. It's not on the agenda, Janet.
What?
It's not on the agenda.
Okay, so next time then.
Sure.
Put it on then.
Well, but maybe she's right.
I have a couple other questions. I'd like to come back to Andy's point. Andy, you said that the city was responsible for the upkeep of the building. Where is it documented that the city's responsible to upkeep and we, as the fiduciaries of the library, are not responsible to make sure that happens if indeed they are responsible?
Section 43, right?
It says that we have responsibility, Andy.
Well, that's what
The
I'm
board.
asking.
So where do you say
That's
the
what I'm-
city does? That's what we're asking you, Andy.
They're the owners of the building.
That the statute
Pardon
says
me?
we have control over it.
But nevertheless, even if the city is responsible, we would be responsible for holding them accountable for that, right? If we're the fiduciaries for the library, according to the statute that you read to us, it's our what Andy's trying to say is, it's our responsibility to ensure that the entity is sound both financially, programmatically, staff-wise. Those are our responsibilities. Does anybody disagree with that?
Say that again.
That we're not responsible for all of those things?
No, we are. But-
Okay, so if we are, then we would need to try to work with the city to work through the issues in the physical plant, because that's the bone of contention.
Yes.
Is they own it, we're the tenant, nobody has been taking care of the physical plant.
So, but if we go by what the statute says in section 43.58, we do.
That's a state statute, and I still go back to Doug, I mean, there could be a MOU when this place was.
You're right, Gary.
And that's what we need to know
Hope
first.
springs eternal.
Right.
There could be, but I don't think so.
And if there is, that explains everything that everybody has questions about. And so,
I think
That's
you can
okay.
ask, you're
That's
not
where we
gonna
need to
find
start.
one, there is nothing. But we can
Yeah.
ask.
About what year would it be?
I don't know.
70.
The building was built 25 years ago?
No, that was the
But it-
thing. The original building was built in the 70s,
So
wasn't it?
I think we need to move forward from like harping on the past, because I also understand that
Mhm.
there's a lot of like tension between the city and the board before my time, before a lot of our time, and there's really no reason to kind of continue to just rain on this parade. So I think what we need to do is, I'll take on the responsibility of connecting with Adam and whomever else, Desiree thinks, Alan, whoever else, to get an MOU started and maybe this is with the finance committee as well,
Oh.
Mary, Doug, etc., to meet with the city and to talk about, here's an itemized list that you gave us of things that need to get done. What is priority number one? What's priority number two? Who's going to pay for it? Why are you making the case that we pay for it? Why are we making the case that the city pays for it? Is there some sort of agreement that needs to be signed? And really just continue to move forward in that collaborative spirit.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason, I understand we're frustrated and passionate. There's no reason to continue to throw anybody under the bus. It sucks, we need to move forward.
But briefly, my understanding is that the city would like us to come up with something and bring it to maybe Adam, so we maybe need to hash through
Like a
something.
prioritized list.
Perhaps something that shows who is going to be responsible for what,
Okay, so I
and how that maybe
think
is going
the
to
finance committee will meet.
be. We should meet sooner than later.
Yeah, I'll
So
get
maybe
it.
in the next couple of weeks, and then maybe we need to have some kind of list drawn up, but something that some of this backlog should be our responsibility in some way to take care of and pay for, And then going forward, how are we going to do the rest of the stuff? And how could we incorporate some of the stuff into the renovation? And maybe use some of the funds for like, you know, ADA compliant
Okay,
bathrooms?
so I will
some
get
of
an
that
email
stuff.
out to the finance committee to
Okay.
figure out a time soon for us to get together to discuss a prioritized list that we then present to Adam and whomever else that he gives his blessing on. We talk about whatever, that we then bring back to the wider board for discussion. And we're just gonna kind of continue to go back and forth until we reach a resolution.
Good.
Okay,
Desiree, the grant application and the grant, did that come about after the walkthrough?
Yes, that was just very recently, Gary.
Okay,
Yes.
so, and the city brought that to your attention? Okay, and that's, you had said we're gonna, it's 864,000 because we have that much money as a match?
895.
So,
No, MSA came up with the amount on their own. I did not tell them how much.
okay.
So they came up with the project,
So
and
they,
then we had to show, like, yes, we have enough to
because
match
there's a big
that.
pool of money out there for
Right.
projects like this. So, continue moving forward with the library expansion project, renovation project. And if the grant comes in, this is gonna take care of a lot of stuff that's on here.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But had they not done the walkthrough, we wouldn't have this list. We wouldn't be doing the
We
grant
could have got surprised maybe that summer
application.
when we had an air conditioning unit.
So the grant application is gonna cover a lot of the stuff on the list, which is gonna be pretty much hopefully a moot point, and I would hope that we get the grant. I mean, that to me is awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just so everybody understands, this is something that wasn't the last 6 months. I mean, this walkthrough just came about, the grant application just came about. We've been doing I've been on the board for a year and a half or something now, and the renovation project has been talked about ever since. So, moving forward, I'm fine with Doug, because I mean, this, you know, if it's not the grant, then it's still gotta get ironed out and figured
We
out.
gotta iron it out, we gotta talk it through, and we gotta figure out what we're gonna do.
So, I think we're good.
I'd like to just say something in conclusion to address something you said, Lauren. Lauren, wasn't throwing anyone under the bus. I was trying to illustrate that the board, us, we people today are the fiduciaries of the library board, of the library. And it's our responsibility, notwithstanding what's happened up until today, we are responsible. And I take that responsibility very seriously. That's the reason why I'm in favor of keeping more reserves in the bank than what was voted on in July. For reasons just like these items that came up on this list. And hopefully, it will be a moot point. We will get this grant, but in the event that we don't get the full amount or we don't get the grant, I mean, I'm very hopeful that we will. We have a financial responsibility to make sure that we are on firm footing. And that's the last thing that I have to say about it.
on that note, we can move to the next agenda item, which is review allocation of the Ripon Public Library's funds at the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation.
Which I think there's nothing new, and until we find out about the grant, I don't know that we would revisit
Okay.
that, so.
Well, let's just mention it, so the renovation fund is how much? What do we have now in there?
About 420,000?
Yeah, it just went up.
Ending balance for $416,493, so almost $417,000.
Right.
410,714
That's beginning.
or 416,
Yeah, almost.
493.
Okay. And that's money available to do renovation here in the library for that vision that we had,
Right.
okay?
But yeah, it makes sense to maybe pause discussion on allocation of that until we know if the grant is available to us or not.
And we'll probably find that out within what time frame?
Well, based off of what we know from MSA, we'll either find out that we got it or we won't hear anything.
Next week, next month?
I might be, there's a lot of, there's
I'm
a
sure
lot of
there's a
hands
ton of
out.
applicants.
There's a lot of hands out.
All right, maybe Desiree will see if she can get some more concrete info on the timeline. So I think maybe we pause discussion on the OACF allocation until we know if the grant is ours or not.
Okay, so we'll put that on for next month. And then
Hopefully we'll know by next month.
Hopefully,
Knock on all the wood. Okay, we're gonna set the date and time for the next meeting for Tuesday, February 27th, 2024 at 5 p.m. A Zoom link will be available, and make sure you get your agenda item suggestions to Desiree by the Wednesday before the 21st.
Are both of you on Zoom next time again?
Yes, I will be.
Okay,
Me too.
okay.
And we will adjourn. Thanks, everybody.